A terrorist threat against major cities in America, and Houston is on the list. A police officer loses his job after giving a homeless man a sandwich made of feces. Long lines in our area as people try to get it in before early voting is over. And this one here, Lil Wayne.
What's your thought on Black Lives Matter?
What is it? What do you mean?
Now Lil Wayne is scrambling after setting off a firestorm with his reckless comments. That and more in the special election edition of The Factor Uncensored.
This is The Factor Uncensored.
And I'm Isiah Carey. Welcome to The Factor Uncensored. We're here live at BOUDREAUX'S in the Galleria area. And once again, it's a very special Election Day edition of The Factor Uncensored. We will have everything you need to know for the election coming this Tuesday. Plus, we'll talk to special guests here this hour. But let's kick it off first with Angela Chen and the hot topics.
Oh, absolutely. I know you're excited to be here tonight because you're wearing your corduroy jacket.
Yes,
Very
yes.
pretty.
Now, we've had a week off. Did you enjoy your week off?
I did. What did I do? I don't even know.
You know, I worked that Friday night because the World Series was on.
That's right.
And I worked until midnight.
Oh.
So I'm glad The Factor Uncensored is back.
A little violence. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I had
we're
to
all
slave over a
glad.
hot keyboard all night long.
We love the World Series, but oh my gosh, did it run late. Okay, we're going to get to our first topic here. If you've been paying any attention to the news at all today, you know that the FBI is looking at the credibility, or at a possibility of a possible terror attack against the U.S. Now, they've identified 3 states, and as you can expect, because we're starting with this big story today, Texas is one of those states, the other 2, New York and Virginia. Now, this is especially concerning because these terror attacks are supposed to hit the day before voters go to the polls on Monday, right? So the threat is apparently from Al-Qaeda, but the FBI is neither confirming nor denying that, but they have issued a statement saying we remain vigilant to defend against attacks in the U.S. The Texas Department of Public Safety, they're telling Texans, hey, we can assure you we adjust our level of vigilance to meet any potential or emerging threats. The governor is saying, hey, do go about your lives as usual, but remain vigilant. Of course, a lot of people on social media saying this is just a big distraction to deter people from voting. People are always skeptical.
Well, you never know what their intentions are, and we aren't certain that it's an absolutely credible threat.
Oh, absolutely
so,
not. That's why they're not confirming
that's why
it.
people have jumped to the conclusion that this could be a ploy to distract people from the major election we have coming up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But, you know, if you see anything suspicious, absolutely report it.
See something, say something.
Exactly. That's the takeaway. Okay, it's another story about a teacher getting removed from the classroom because of inappropriate touching. Aren't you sick of these stories? We are. We're really sick of these stories, but you know what? We're going to continue to hear about them because some teachers never seem to learn their lesson. This time, it's a teacher from HISD. This one's at LOOSCAN Elementary School. There were allegations of inappropriate conduct that involved an associate teacher touching a student. HISD police, of course, conducting a full investigation.
You know, I don't ever recall this happening when I was in elementary school.
Me neither.
Of course, that was the 1950s, but still.
Yeah, I think you're making you seem younger than you really are in 1950s.
You know, maybe it's because the accessibility, people are more aware of what's going on in the classroom. People are more likely to call the news media about these things that are going on.
I think it's the accessibility. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Okay, moving on. We're going to the Lone Star Rally. If you're anywhere in Galveston, you know this is happening in your part of town. The Lone Star Rally is a massive biker rally. It just kicked off tonight. Unfortunately, started off on a bad note. Police say 2 people died in a motorcycle crash last night, 2 more critically injured. Now, the crash happened last night along Seawall. That's along the ocean there. Officials did release the victims' names earlier today. That's 33-year-old Elias Shavana and 29-year-old Patricia Delgado. Police don't think alcohol played a role in this crash, and police say the 2 victims were trying to cross the street where there wasn't a crosswalk. Now, the driver of the motorcycle and the passenger were also critically injured. Those were the ones who survived. Of course, tragic because this is an annual event. More than 400,000 people expected in Galveston, so you can expect a lot of people there. If you're planning on going, be aware of what's happening. Do not drink and drive. I cannot stress that enough.
Absolutely. Condolences to the family of those victims, but I just could not believe 400,000 people would be in Galveston. You know, I want to see the actual total, the numbers.
Yeah, well, we'll find out afterward, right?
But I'm being petty. Anyway, what's next, Angela?
All right, moving on. You're not going to believe this next story. If you watch South Park, you've heard of turd sandwiches. Well, a police officer in San Antonio fired for bragging to his partner that he served a they're called poop sandwich to a homeless person. Our sister station. Feces, fecal sandwich, whatever.
In a sandwich.
It's poop.
And he gave it to a homeless person. Make it clear.
Our sister station ID'd that officer. This is Matthew Luckhurst. San Antonio Police Chief said Luckhurst took 2 slices of bread, put poop between the sandwiches, or in the middle, then placed it in a styrofoam container. Well, after he apparently bragged about
Disgusting.
it. Yep.
Disgusting.
Word reached everyone else. He said other officers were really disgusted. But Luckhurst, he's not staying silent. He lawyered up. And they told the news that Luckhurst only joked about it, that he never actually did it. So far, no one's actually been able to find this homeless guy that he apparently gave it to, but, you know, still lost his job.
If it is true, it's a horrible act,
It's horrible.
and he should be
It's awful.
terminated.
It's not funny,
Yeah.
you know. A lot of people down on their luck out there, and they do not need this on top of that. Okay, on to one of my favorite subjects, fast food. Looks like you guys are not liking the Big Mac out there. McDonald's, they're making some changes to this famous hamburger. Fast food chain, they're soon going to offer 2 versions of the Big Mac, okay? One is going to be called the Grand Mac. They're going to have 2 all-beef patties weighing 1/3 of a pound. Yeah, Isaiah, salivating? No, not at all? You're not a fast food guy?
I've always been turned off by that special sauce. I want to know what's in that sauce.
No, it's special. You're not supposed to know. All right, the other one, Mac Jr. That's the little baby Mac. They're going to have 1 patty, no middle bun. Good if you're cutting down on carbs, but if you're gonna get fast food, you're not thinking about carbs. Come on.
Well, it's like a Whopper Jr., right? So Burger King has done this for quite some time.
I don't think Burger King would be okay with you comparing the 2.
Oh, okay.
Mickey D's,
My apologies.
you know what? They're doing this, though, because of a slowdown in sales. I guess they're not doing so well, so they got to change it up to get your business back.
All right. Thanks a lot, Angela Chen.
Absolutely.
Well, the big story in Houston and around the country has been early voting. Now, we want to determine here in Harris County if we will reach a record here for the number of people who are turning out for the polls. Greg Grugan has more.
It's been a record early vote in Harris County, driven by a trio of factors. 1 part interest, 1 part population growth, and 1 part convenience.
And in this election,
which side slides into Election Day ahead depends on who you talk to. TSU professor Jay Iyer contends the ticket topped by Hillary Clinton should have the upper hand here come Tuesday.
The Democrats should win early vote, which really puts them in a strong position going into E-Day, and probably a pretty strong position of winning the majority of offices here in the county.
But a late surge in suburban early ballots has impressed veteran St. Thomas analyst John Taylor.
From basically Kingwood over to Katy, those numbers are voting more heavily than other parts of the county right now. Those are traditionally Republican areas.
Rice political scientist Mark Jones says the outcome of this early vote presents a hard bottom line for local Republicans. Win it by a decent margin or kiss most of your races goodbye.
When we see the early votes early in the evening on November 8th, if Republicans aren't already ahead with a nice little cushion, then it's going to be a dark night for most of the Harris County Republican Party.
That's because more local Democrats traditionally cast their ballots on Election Day.
Democrats and Republicans are relatively neck and neck in the early vote. And that tends to be bad news for Republicans and good news for Democrats.
If you see a lot of heavy voting in Democratic precincts on Election Day, look out. You may see what you saw back in 2008 with a sweep of Republican judges out of office.
I think by and large, we're probably looking at a phenomenon similar to what you saw in 2008, where you have a sweep.
That was Greg Grugan reporting on early voting here in Harris County. Now joining us now is Stan Stannard, Harris County Clerk. He's a guy who's in charge of early voting, and we have Veronica Ramos, and she voted early in this election. Veronica, let's begin with you first. Why did you decide to go out to the polls and get it done now?
Well, actually, it was my first time voting in person. The previous times that I voted have been absentee ballots. And so I was excited to actually be in person voting, and I decided to early vote because I imagined that it would be a lot more stressful if I waited till the day before or the day of. And it was a great experience, actually. I was in and out 13 minutes, and it was exciting.
And which county did you early vote in?
Harris.
Harris County. So that's good news for you, Stan Standard, who is the Harris County clerk here. Now, have you heard stories like that of people in and out, or have there been long waits?
Most of the time it's been short lines, okay? You know, the first day, 42% over our records, so we had some congestion. We added more workers, we added more laptops. I think the normal waits now have been very much more reasonable. Even today, when we broke records, over 100,000 voters showed up today. 103,700, the last number I saw.
Now, where do we stand overall? Have we reached that record for early voting for this particular election?
Oh, the record was 701,000. We're at 880,000 in person, and ballot by mail is to over 100,000.
Now, what do you attribute for so many people going out to vote early, to get active, to get involved in this election?
I think the voters are engaged. You got the word out to them. They know about the elections. They're showing up in droves, and they're voting early. I mean, usually it's very easy because you can vote anywhere in the county. Now, those who wait to, of course, election day, it's a different story. They must vote where their precinct is voting on Tuesday.
Now, earlier today at about 5 o'clock this afternoon, we saw long lines at different voting locations around Harris County. So how does that work? If you're in the line at 7 o'clock, do you cut it off there?
No.
Or do you tell everyone, sorry, it's 7 o'clock, we have to go home?
Everybody that's in line at 7 p.m. got to cast their vote today. And there was very few people that were much more than an hour in line this evening. So they're processing very quickly, and but we had huge numbers. The most we've ever done in one day is 87,000. We did over 103,000 a day. So that's a huge increase.
Okay. And are the numbers still coming in, or that's where you stand right now?
That's the number, 103,700 when I left the office. I don't have the exact final, but it won't be very many over that at all.
Okay. Now, what was it, Veronica, about this election that made you say, number one, let me vote in person, and number two, let me do it early?
I would say it's a pretty historical time, and so I wanted to have the full-on experience of what that would be like to vote in person, and I feel proud as an American to have done that and taken care of that. And early voting, I think, it's just kind of like getting your chores done early before they're due, before the deadline or a project that's due, waiting till the day of. And I wasn't stressed out at all going there, and I wasn't stressed out leaving, so it was just a pleasant experience overall.
Now, many people saw this as a crucial election, a very divisive election when it comes to the presidential election. Did you feel any of that pressure as a Houstonian?
I did, yes. I felt pressure as in it was more so than other elections where I really felt that it was my duty to be able to go in and vote as early as possible to make sure that nothing interfered with my vote the day of the election or the day before.
Veronica Ramos, and any last words for Election Day Tuesday?
Okay.
In the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, they must vote where their precinct is. Go to harrisvote.com, look up where your polling location will be on Harris Vote. Put your name in.
All right, Stan Standard, Veronica Ramos, thank you guys for coming on the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We're here live at Boudreaux'S. We're going to leave you with DJ Yanni, and coming up, we're going to talk about that controversial Lil Wayne issue and also more politics on this special edition of the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Stay with us.
We are sip the Henny for the day, baby. Bad man, we no stray, baby. Oops, I done fell for your way, baby. I know, girl, but you don't know from the first.
And welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We're here live at Boudreaux'S. We're talking politics in this special election edition of the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Joining us now is State Senator Paul Betancourt on the Republican side.
Hey.
Republican to the day you die, right?
Right. Yeah, but we're going to win this one in Harris County, so I'm happy right now. Let's check in with Tony.
Democrat here, activist in the community, college educated. I want to thank you guys for coming on the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Now, what has been the biggest issue for each of your parties approaching this election, this historical presidential election that's been very divisive all across the country? Paul, let's begin with you.
Okay, look, Harris County is a big purple shootout, okay, because the red and the blue forces are very evenly matched, and really right now it's a turnout question. The question is who's going to turn out to vote. It looks like the voting has been swing from originally it was more Democratic in nature, now it's more Republican, and we'll see what happens on Election Day because that will decide everything from the White House to the courthouse in Harris County.
Tony, have you seen that same trend?
Well, you know what's fascinating to me? I think Donald Trump ran on the idea that he could win without the Hispanic vote, so he started out by insulting Latinos, and I think he's inspired us to come out in droves. Now, I know it's hard to pin us down, but we've seen influxes in Florida, Harris County, Nevada. I think after this election, Latinos will be taken into account in a different way. And I guess, you know, seeing Sheriff Arpaio to his left and Yamburu to his right has forced us to get involved and come out. I think it's going to be a new day for Latinos after Tuesday.
You've been vigilant, however, because you were concerned that they would not come out. Where is that concern coming from, that the Hispanic vote won't turn out in this election?
You know what? I think a lot of it is it's pretty much where we keep hearing the message that they're not coming out. And that's a myth because Latinos do vote. And for example, let's go back to Kennedy. His wife, Jackie O, did the first commercial in Spanish. And actually in Texas, Dr. Garcia created Viva Kennedy clubs throughout Texas, and they helped deliver the election for Kennedy. So to me, that is a myth that we need to really burst and change.
Senator Betancourt.
Okay, Tony's right. I mean, the Latino vote is coming out, but there's an interesting backdraft with the Kennedys. Because, you know, as a Catholic, I have stories in my family of everybody being going out to vote. They were proud to vote for President Kennedy, the first Catholic that was running that had a shot at it. And what's now happening, we're seeing a backdraft from President Obama's 2 terms, because clearly what you see nationally is Afro-American turnout down in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, and other states. And that's just part of the ebb and flow of what happens in national politics, because you get a hot candidate like Obama was in 2008, you get a big turnout. But now what we're seeing now is a big turnout by both Republicans and Democrats. And right now, I would say the Republicans have a slight lead in Harris County, but it's all up for grabs on Election Day.
Is there an issue when you look at the Republican Party and their pushback from their presidential candidate, Donald Trump? Many are saying, high-profile Republicans, I am not supporting this man.
Well, what you're seeing is a coalescence in the Republican Party, especially over the last few days, because we've seen voter turnout really start spiking among, let's say, downtown boxes or inside the loot boxes. It means that the Republicans are coming together because they see a straight ticket message, and they really don't like Hillary Clinton. Okay? They really don't like the Clinton corruption that they see. The big turnover with Comey, and I call it the comb-over, okay, that he made, okay, is really changed the body politic, not only in Texas, but nationally, too.
Well, let me put it this way. Right now, they're bringing out the star power, because you can say what you want about statistics or polls, but Hillary brought Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony. So that's thrilling, folks. And you got the Castro brothers coming to Houston on Monday. So I think right now at the end, they're bringing out their A game. They're bringing out some stars. What I do advise Trump to do and Republicans do is stay off this whole deportation force thing, because then we're going to have to be reminded.
Is it too late? Because people won't easily forget that.
Well, the last time there was deportation force, it was Eisenhower, who was Republican, and they had Operation Wetback. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to bring that back.
Okay, now look, here's what's really happening. We have local star power. I've got Governor Greg Abbott. I have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. I got all my local stars, and they're already coming out here. Now, when you talk about this,
I think you're a bigger star.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. All right, they got the tax man too. Now, what's really interesting about this election? It's wild. It's woolly. We haven't seen anything like it in 50 years. But it also compresses the time for everybody involved. See, you can't even think, you go back, you don't even remember some of the stuff Tony's talking about, because so much has happened in this campaign. And really now what's happening is really helping the Republicans is you go back to the Comey announcement on Friday, and it's almost like nothing happened prior to that anymore.
Exactly.
We're living in a Comey world.
State Senator Paul Betancourt,
Okay.
Tony Diaz, thank you guys for coming on the Isiah Factor Uncensored. When we come back, we're going to talk about those crazy comments from Lil Wayne, and we're going to continue with our political coverage here on the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We leave you with DJ Yanni here live at Boudreaux'S. We'll be back. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Time for fun and games. Mish and Carmen are here with the latest in entertainment news. It was a big week for Beyonce, a big week for Lil Wayne. So you guys just take over, Carmen.
We take over. Yes. So they hating on Beyonce. Texas, all right? Our Houston's own, they're hating on Beyonce. She performed on stage the other night, the CMAs with the Dixie Chicks, and they're all Texas girls. Did a great job, highest ratings ever. But behind her performance was hate. I mean, folks were really upset because they were saying that she's not a country artist. And Dee tweeted, "Really, Beyonce at the CMA Awards 50, aside from that trash, much better show than last year?" Now, Travis tweeted, "Beyonce performing at the CMA Awards is like having Taylor Swift perform at the BET Awards." Really?
But if Justin Timberlake can go on last year, then why can't Beyonce go on this year? And he did. He was on last year.
Sounds like a lot of racism,
exactly.
which people won't say.
And I think it's hidden too because the Dixie
It's out in the
Chicks
open. If you see
hated.
Comments like that, it's racism.
But
They're saying she doesn't belong on the CMAs.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And so we had Charlie Pride in there, and who's in there now? The gentleman who was with, it's a black guy that used
Hootie
to
and the
be
Blowfish.
Hootie and the Blowfish. I can't think of his name. Right, he's in the industry, so why can't we have Beyonce in the industry?
Right.
Okay, now, the CMAs did have a video clip of Beyonce and the Dixie Chicks on their website. They immediately took it down. Now they're claiming the reason why they took it down is because they didn't have the rights to publish the clip online, supposedly.
That's what they're claiming. And they also said that her staff was making it difficult. They didn't want to approve the clips.
Right. Now let me remind folks, Willie Nelson once said that Ray Charles did more for country music than any other living human beings, in reference to Charles' 1962 album, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music.
To Willie?
Yeah.
All right.
Now let's go from tomfoolery to foolishness. Let's take a listen to Lil Wayne this week on ABC News.
What's your thought on Black Lives Matter?
What is it? What do you mean?
The idea was that there's this movement called Black Lives Matter, thinking that the rest of America didn't seem to understand that Black Lives Matter.
It just sounds weird. I didn't know that you put a name on. It's not a name. It's not whatever. It's somebody got shot by police for a reason. I am a young, black, rich. If that don't let you know that America understands Black matter these days, I don't know what it is. Don't come at me with that dumb man.
That was Lil Wayne this week, caused a firestorm on social media, also on television, radio, wherever you turned or listened. They were talking about that interview on ABC News. Joining us now is Toedown, a Houston rapper who is here to talk about this issue. Now, when you realized what Lil Wayne said, what was your response? What was your reaction to that?
Well, you know, I've worked with Lil Wayne in the past, and, you know, he's got to be one of the most creative artists I've ever worked with. And my instant gut reaction was, you know, I can understand where he might be coming from, where he's talking about My Life Matters, because although as artists we are creative, and people like artists that are creative and different. So when you speak out on something, even though we might come from different traditions and backgrounds, and you may like rap music but not country music, and vice versa, you know, we should at least respect someone's opinion and try to love that person. And I think that's what he was trying to...
But he's basically crapping on the black community. Well, I don't know if I can respect an opinion like that where he says it doesn't have anything to do with him. Well, you know, it does.
Most of his fan base currently is Caucasian. So when you look upon that, he might not identify with the same problems you or I go through.
And that's an important point.
When we, you know, I drive a nice car, and when I'm in the wrong area of town, I get looked at a certain way by police. I get pulled over a lot more frequently than other people. You know, I have 4 curls on my head, and I might get a certain perception, but perception is not always reality. So even though you or I might be looked at differently and get treated differently by the police, we can identify with the Black Lives movement, with the My Life movement. So what we have to understand is that we should respect and value life in itself. You know, whether it be your life, my life, all lives, blue lives, and everything like that. So when Lil Wayne was talking about his life matter, although it seemed like a slug at the Black Lives movement, it could also be interpreted as he wasn't trying to stand out as a politician, but when you're a rapper and you have influence over so many minds, you are a politician.
Right.
So that could be interpreted as a slug to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So now he's fired his publicist.
That's right.
He has ABC not to air the interview.
Well,
Just
you know
some
what?
Aftermath, crazy aftermath.
You know, a little different medication might help. You know, I'm just saying.
Or less of the syrup.
Exactly. So, and I know a lot about medication. I know a lot about medication.
Too much information.
Too much information.
Can we not run this interview? How about that?
Okay,
Right?
so
Stop.
you guys want to say happy birthday to someone, and we have some pictures. Go ahead.
Willie D, happy 50th birthday.
Looks good.
Doesn't he look great?
Caliente looking good.
I asked him how he felt about that party,
Uh-huh.
and he said he was so happy to have his family and friends around him. And he said it wasn't about him, it was him celebrating everybody who was there for him.
It was a great
And
time.
you know what he told me today?
What's that?
He said, 70, here I come, look out, I'm ready to do it. Someone told him he wasn't going to make it past 18.
Yes.
And so he said, to hell with you, I made it to 50.
You know, the other day I said I'm old, and he said we're not old, we're just getting older. So thank you, Willie.
All right, guys. We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored. We'll leave you with DJ Yanni here live at Boudreaux'S. Welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Now let's take a look at the weather with John Dawson.
I'm meteorologist John Dawson with your FoxRad forecast uncensored this evening. Need to let you know about a few things taking place across the area. First of all, we're kind of getting nipped by a cold front as it's moving in somewhat. That's going to bring us a possibility of a few showers. And with that, some cooler air, though, eventually coming in behind that cool front. It's going to be a little while for the colder air to really get down here somewhat. A little bit of cloud cover as well, a possibility. And then once we start looking at the highs around 70 degrees once we move into the weekend, and then that's going to stay in place for Sunday, but we possibly could see even some more rain across the area on Sunday, and that's going to lead to some even more rainy periods of weather once we get into Monday and Tuesday. So be ready for sure some rain across the area on Monday. I know Election Day is on Tuesday. Right now, there's at least a 40% chance that we might see some rain, and then towards the end of the week, we start getting things cleared back out once again.
All right, thanks a lot, JD. I'm still looking forward to cooler temperatures, but right now I'm looking for some heated tempers right here on The Factor Uncensored. We're talking politics with Kathleen McKinley and Carmen Rowe. Now, it's been a very controversial week. The Agriculture Commission, commissioner here, sent out a tweet against Hillary Clinton, saying some very disparaging things about her, calling her the C word. Now, Carmen, were you shocked when he sent out that tweet? Now, initially, he said he was, it was a retweet, and he said he was hacked, and then he said it was a mistake, and it just went on. But once again, he sent out that retweet about Hillary Clinton.
There's been a consistent theme of making disparaging comments coming from the Republican Party. And so, you know, this is consistent with that. And I don't think you can use the C word to talk about any woman and not create controversy. I mean, unacceptable and intolerable. He said initially that his account was hacked, and then he came back later and said that maybe a staffer had put it out there. I mean, the only good thing I can say is that he came out right away and said this is unacceptable, and his account was suspended thereafter. So.
Do you think there should be more from him? Should there be a resignation?
You know, I don't know if he needs to resign, but he needs to address the use of that word by anyone in his camp, and maybe even touch on the fact that this has been a consistent theme or problem in the Republican Party. I mean, he could say more, he could do more to bring the women into the Republican Party, or at least address how serious the use of the C word is as regards women in this country.
Kathleen McKinley, your thoughts on that?
I know him. I'm not friends with him, but I do know him. But and I don't think that he did it on purpose. I really don't. I think that no politician is stupid enough to do that. It was a copy and paste from another account that I'm familiar with that is a terrible person. But it was a Pennsylvania poll. And honestly, I can understand someone looking at it and not even reading that, Trump and then that, and then putting it out there. I mean, he did apologize profusely, deleted it immediately, said he would never use the word. And I can even understand him saying that he was hacked first, thinking I would never do that, and then finding out that actually someone on, on his staff did copy and paste. It was a copy and paste. But I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because honestly, I don't think any politician's stupid enough in Texas to do that, And honestly, I've met him. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would say something like that. But I don't think Republicans say bad things about women. I think that's an unfair statement as well. I think, most Republicans are very good men and women who don't speak badly about women.
Real quick, in the remaining moments that we have, many political analysts have said that now this will sway female voters in Texas to Hillary Clinton. True or not?
I think it reinforces a message that continues to be perpetuated by Republicans that women's votes don't matter. Women's votes matter, and they need to reach out and they need to address this issue, and continuing to use words that are as disparaging and as inflammatory as the C word will never get them in. So will it affect the vote? Definitely.
Yea or nay?
In Texas, no.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kathleen McKinley. Short answer. I love that. Carmen Rowe will be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored after this. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. I'm texting something that Angela Box just said negative about Jolanda Jones.
I didn't say anything negative about her.
Yes, you did. What did you say?
I said, I hope that Amazon's not here tonight because I don't have time.
You don't think that's negative?
I do not have time for her. She's a tall woman. There's nothing wrong with me and the Amazon.
Anyway, what are you talking about today?
Do not take my time. Listen, the American people have been in the Obama malaise for the last 8 years, and we have a very stark choice. The biggest choice since Carter and Reagan of 1980. People, are we supposed to ignore the criminal and corrupt Hillary Clinton and believe the lies spewed by her surrogates in the media who overwhelmingly support her? No, we are not. Are we to ignore her pay-to-play schemes and the fact that she installed a private email server in her basement? No, we are not. Isiah, I'm so sad you're not here. Are we
No,
to ignore,
we are not.
Are we to ignore her complete lack of ideas, or worse yet, her doubling down of Barack Obama's economic foreign policy disaster? Or are we ready to embrace a bold new direction in the form of Donald Trump that is going to put the fear of God into the establishment of both parties? Yes, we are.
And to women all over the country.
Donald Trump wants to end illegal immigration and build a border wall. Hillary Clinton wants to have unfettered immigration and embrace globalism. Donald Trump wants to build up our military. Hillary Clinton wants to shrink our military. Trump wants to replace and repeal Obamacare because it has been a disaster for the American people. Hillary Clinton wants to double down on it all and have socialized medicine for America. Trump wants to slash corporate and individual tax rates so that businesses come back into America and American families can keep more of their hard-earned money. Hillary Clinton wants to raise taxes on everybody. Trump wants to reestablish law and order. Oh, law and order. I know. Social justice warriors get triggered when you say law and order, but Hillary Clinton wants to support people like the Black Lives Matter movement who support terrorism and domestic terrorism. Trump wants to use extreme vetting to shut down immigration from Muslim countries who have terrorist ties. Hillary Clinton wants to increase Muslim immigration and Middle Eastern immigration by 650%. Trump will be beholden to the American people, and Hillary Clinton will be emboldened to the Wall Street bankers and the foreign donors and the establishment who fund her foundation. We have a very
Isn't Donald
big
Trump
choice.
from the establishment?
Donald Trump is not of the establishment, and neither am I.
Wait a minute
The
now.
establishment is
He is
going
from
to
corporate
get
America.
thrown.
The very
He is a
people you say are
businessman.
paying Hillary Clinton.
Corporate America has paid Hillary Clinton, but America is
Have
going
you been
to
drinking again tonight?
No, I have not.
All
Hillary
right.
Clinton.
We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored.
Really?
And we want to remind you
job.
to join us beginning
Vote
Tuesday at 5 o'clock
That's
on
right.
Fox 26 for our continuing coverage of the election, gavel to gavel.
That
join
is
us
correct.
Tuesday night, Fox 26. We'll be back after this. Stay with us.
It's Friday night and I won't be long. Gotta do my hair, put my makeup on. It's Friday night.
Astros picked up the option on catcher designated hitter Evan Gattis, who will get $5.2 million in 2017. Gattis is club control for 2 more years, so he wasn't necessarily going anywhere, but the team has locked in his salary, avoiding arbitration for the coming season. Gattis led the Astros with a career-high 32 home runs with 72 RBIs while hitting .251. He split time last season at catcher, where he caught 55 games, and he was a designated hitter for 79. Evan is happy his contract situation is resolved.
I'm excited to be back and ready to try to get to the postseason again this year, 2017. It's just going to be a familiar system. I don't know, I'm just excited. I'm glad they picked up the option. I just want to help them win, you know.
We feel really good about bringing Evan back. He did a terrific job for us these last couple of years, and the fact that he was able to catch as much as he was last year and perform well behind the dish makes him a valuable player that we feel is going to contribute to our 17 club.
Meanwhile, the Astros traded reliever Pat Neshek to the Phillies for a player to be named later. The Astros chose to go that route rather than pick up Neshek's option for $6.5 million, and he's happy to be going to Philly.
It's welcomed. You know, I think that was kind of a problem though, is we had too much depth where, you know, I could have done a lot more. So it'll be nice. I think the Phillies are looking at me for late innings, and I'm excited.
Just made sense for us. Well, we can deploy those resources elsewhere, and there was a market for him, and we figured that he's done a really nice job here. We appreciate everything he did, but we feel like our priorities for those resources are better deployed elsewhere.
Pat is proud to have been part of the Astros playoff run in 2015.
To see what we did with good team chemistry in 15 and make the playoffs and get in the wild card, that was one of the coolest things ever, because it was a team that, you know, I think a lot of us thought it might take a couple of years to win there. So I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss all the guys in the bullpen.
Mark Berman, Fox 26 Sports.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. We're here live at Boudreaux'S. Now, after popular demand, we're bringing back Crazy Ass Criminals. Take a look.
We kick off our Crazy Ass Criminals down the road in Montgomery County. 37-year-old Cody Roberts is heading to prison for 3 long decades. Prosecutors say Roberts was super busy with hot checks. They say the Conroe resident went to a Hyundai dealership and wrote a worthless check for $60,000 and drove off with a Genesis. He then took that Genesis and traded it in for a new Jeep, and he paid the difference in another worthless $30,000 check. This tool isn't done just yet. He took the Jeep to another dealership where he sold it for $37,000 in cash. He thought he covered his trail, but the popo still got him anyway. 30 years in TDCJ, buddy. Let's move over to Florida, the Sunshine State, where police say 56-year-old Kurt Jenkins was getting too much sun. He was driving around butt naked. That's not all. They also say while driving around Halloween night, he also had a set of wires attached to his you-know-what. He would drive by and tell people, hey, take a look at this. Jenkins was booked on indecent exposure charges and sent packing to the jail with a $6,000 bond. And you had to see this one coming. Get it? See this one coming? Well, you'll get this one in just a second about Edward Dorsey. Police say the 54-year-old was arrested for domestic battery in the morning. By that evening, he was in the hospital. And as he was being released, police and doctors told him, Mr. Dorsey, don't you do it. Don't you dare. And he did. Police say Dorsey plucked out his glass eye and threw it at the cops and the doctors. He's being held now in jail on a $35,000 bond. $5,000 of that is for throwing that glass eye. That's it for the Crazy Ass Criminals. Now, who's got the bail money?
And that is it for the Crazy Ass Criminals this week. We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment. We're here live at Boudreaux'S, and we leave you with DJ Yanni. That is your 7-day forecast. Welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We once again want to remind you to join us Tuesday beginning at 5 o'clock for our Election Day coverage, and we will go through the night covering all of the races that are important to you. Now, before we leave you, we want to leave you with DJ Yanni. DJ Yanni, what do you have going on this weekend for those who are interested in seeing and hearing you live?
All right, so we always do an awesome thing every Friday night at the King's Court, 903 Hutchins, right next to Dynamo Stadium. It's called the Get Down. We do an old school versus new school party. We normally bring out 4 turntables. We have 2 DJs, sometimes 4. It gets kind of crazy. Drink specials are really good. We have 60-cent wings, and by God, you got to try the mango habanero, man. Those things are really good.
Well, take us out.
All right, man.
On this Friday night. Thank you guys for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.
Watch me! Watch me! Watch me! Watch me! I got it! Watch me! I got it! Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout.
This newscast brought to you by Carpet Giant.
All about